Would you like to do roll call or?
No longer secretary.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do this week, this
No, I'm
month.
only here in case we had a quorum problem.
Oh, well,
Okay, Bob. Ready to do the roll call,
you
Bob?
wanna do, Roy's not here, so I guess you are the minutes secretary.
Okay. He's retired. Does that mean I do roll call?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're,
So, Bob, are you part of the roll call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, you here?
Yes.
there's the
Okay. Patrick, here. Linda,
present.
Bob, here.
Yeah.
Here, here. Jillian, here.
Here.
I guess we have a quorum, right?
And Roy is absent,
And-
okay.
Missing is Roy.
Did everybody have a chance to go through the agenda?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, any changes or additions, subtractions? Nothing? All in favor of adopting the agenda, voice? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bob, you've got that. Okay. This will be interesting. Oh, looks like we're at public comments and there's nobody in the room. How many online?
We have Pam Boyd, Kathleen Brandt, and Rob Patterson.
Man, we gotta do something to
Usual
liven
suspects.
this committee up. So we have three.
And does anyone have their hand up?
Yeah.
Are there any public comments at this time? Nothing, no hands are raised.
Okay.
Going once, twice, three times.
Well, we'll have another opportunity at the end. Communications and correspondences. We didn't have any from the public. Yeah, so I guess that's not. Just skip that. Discussion items. I do have a couple of things here. So here's a blast from the past. You can just pass that around. It's from 1988, I believe. Thought that was kind of cute.
Been taken around in the archives.
No, actually it was on the floor in one of the mechanical rooms and somebody picked it up and put it in my inbox. It looks like it was written by a little one.
We need to read it into the record. because
Yeah,
we have
let's do
something-
that. So cute. And by the way, North Wagner and Craig Road have had improvements since 1980.
Shoot.
We just got around to it last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's from somebody in the township.
Yeah.
Dear whoever, I'm complaining about the roads on North Wagner and Craig Road, and I hope you will fix these problems. Sincerely, a Herndon or something like that.
What's the date on it?
It was received June 15th, 1988. Changes.
So, just in case, Cheryl Siddall from the Road Commission, she is retired. I'm sure everybody knows this, and Matt McDonald has taken her place as managing director, so they sent out a letter about this. And thank you, Cheryl. I was looking forward to working with her. And we did a little bit for the Salt Dome, but and she announced her retirement a little bit after that, but Matt's been around for a long time, so I think he's gonna do a good job.
Cheryl was the person I worked with on the original draft of that document we're gonna talk about today,
What year was that?
10 years ago.
Oh, it was 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how long she was with them, I mean, in that position, but I know she was with the Road Commission for a long time. So the 2023 annual report to the community has come out, if anybody wants to read that. I was some really nice pictures and like, gosh, I wish we lived in this place, no.
And our roads look like.
So it's just extras, and I think, oh yeah, I've read through it, so if you wanna take it home, it's fine. It should be, but they put them in our mail boxes in the other room. Okay, so anything else? I'm just looking, let's see, I think that's it for. Okay. So moving on to G, unfinished business. The road project plan and schedule. So I just, this was for an update from the subcommittee. I included this. I know that it's been it's the holidays and probably didn't get much done, but
Yeah, this is the thing that I'm doing with Roy and Ian, right?
yeah, with the G, is it GIS? Is that,
I did send out a proposed process and how to kind of streamline it to both of you guys. Roy did answer me.
I didn't,
Did
sorry.
you read it?
I think I read what you were proposing, it looked okay, and then dropped the ball, so.
You know, I thought about it and said, geez, we gonna drive all these roads or is there an easier way to do it? And with the data that we had, I think we have a way to collate that data and come up with an easier answer.
well, after our meeting, okay, and I think I brought this up. So regarding, we had to come up with an agreement, a potential agreement with the road commission in order to use the ARPA funds. Or, well, we had to allocate the ARPA funds by the end of the year in order to receive more state funding. So, Adam Lape, we met him, and also Matt McDonald came over. Joyce, Will, and myself were there. And we talked about the road list and that's probably gonna change and whatnot, other things. But then I brought up about our potential plan for the future, and they said, and I don't know that, and I brought up the GIS and that Ian at the meeting was changing things and whatnot, and they said, oh, well, we have a person at the road commission that's all he does, so he would be able to help. So they do have all the roads except for, of course, private roads. So we could meet with him. His name is Alan. Did I forward the email to the road? See, it all happened during the holidays, you know? No, okay. So, let me get back with you. Yeah, Alan, I wanna say Squires. Because they already have traveled the roads and we won't need to. And then be able to, you know, ask or talk with them about the road plans, I guess. And they do agree that, you know, a 3 to 5 year plan is ideal. I mean, so we've already, and they kept praising the whole 10-year, you know, like, oh, here we did this, and then they said other communities are doing that. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Well, one of the things, remember, we talked about is trying to portion it by geography too.
Yeah.
So that one quadrant or eighth or whatever it is, doesn't feel they're getting less than other parts of the community. Okay, so you have to divide that up. And then one of the things I said in the note for the proposal is there were maybe 3 or 4 different levels of road rehab. How much is A versus B versus C versus D, and factor that in. So now you have the dollars, you know, if what you need is A in a road in that quadrant that cost X, and this quadrant, you need a phase D, but costs 4 times X. So now you gotta weigh that too. So you
Yeah.
see what I mean? See, it's not just geography, it's okay, how do I apportion the money too? to the different areas, so again, it feels equitable.
Right, and we may have a big project that, you know, like, well, Liberty had the big project for what, 700,000, you know. So we may have to, you know, allocate money to that every year until we reach enough. And also grants. Now that we have a project manager, well, he begins January 14th. He did say in his interview that he's familiar with grants and applying. So also there's see, I always want to, GCIS is a lobbying firm that works with communities, and we pay a lot of money to, you know, have them on board, but they will look for grants for us if we need it, right, in different areas. So there's other opportunities, so we don't have to rely just on villages or whatever. Okay, so yeah, all right. So anything else for now?
Well, I guess I'll wait for you to send me the rep's name, and what, you know, what I said we would do is we would have an off-site meeting, a subcommittee meeting, put it up on a screen and try to take these filters and then come up with some kind of result based on the filters that we're talking.
Okay, with the road commission, and I don't know if this is true with Alan, they have just one person from the township connect with the road commission. So if it has to be Joyce or whatever, but we'll, you know, we can meet with Joyce and then,
Well, I can contact this person.
No,
well,
it has to be Joyce.
could you please mute? I'm sorry, you have to mute. I'm sorry. You know, they want either the manager or project manager or something. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so this is, we'll get there, and it's a good, this is working out because we have a lot of time. Well, not a lot, because it's gonna go by fast, but to work on this plan and get it ready for when we're ready to ask, you know, for the funding. However that's going.
When do we need to be ready with it? Like a, you know, rough idea? Do we know?
Well, we would probably go to the voters in 2025.
Okay, that's, yeah, so that's the longer term. I was meaning like, is there any money in the pot this year?
Oh, ARPA funds are paying for the
This
roads.
year?
Yes.
So what are we targeting this year? Do we know?
Well, potentially, let's see, if I brought it with me. Now, this is potential because there's some other projects that. Oh, the one thing, culverts were,
Yes.
yeah, they are, we are applying for that second round of funding for the grants. So we don't want to pass that up because we'll get 3 culverts for the price of $55,000. But that'll be a quarter of what our cost is. But the ARPA funds for the county will pay for the rest. So we don't want to pass it up because it's never going to happen again. We never want it to happen again as far as COVID or a pandemic. Okay, so this is what the road commission brought to us, but your point about some of these roads were just done a couple of years ago, and there's other roads. I don't know which way to go. And this is not official yet. I mean, this is just to place the agreement with the road commission for the ARPA funds. So this way, or
Is this the draft for the 2024 road agreement?
yep. And they have there's after there's I don't know where this other funding's, but they always go high with their estimates. So there's usually money left over, and there seems like there's something else, some other type of funding, and I'm not remembering right now. But more than likely there will be other projects that will be able to be covered.
Well, this was kind of their proposal.
Yes, they brought this to
This
us.
is for 24 or
And they-
23?
20,
Because it looks like it's got a whole bunch of East Delhi on it.
That's the problem, I think, is they're proposing to do East Delhi again, and we're like, I think we mentioned this last time, it's like it makes no sense. It was, we look at our spreadsheet, the 10 years. Yeah, it's like, there's probably roads that need doing more.
mhm,
So I think that's one of the important.
So that's kind of why I'm
yeah.
asking about this.
Yeah, they brought it to us based on the spreadsheet that we had that went from, you know, so Roy had it going into the future a couple years and he had those roads there. So that's what they're, but I said, and Joyce agreed that we, of course, we could change those. So this is just a placeholder. That's all it is right now.
Okay. But one that we shouldn't forget and take a proper look at some point. Otherwise, the placeholder will become the de facto standard.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna, yeah, okay. Trying to think if there's anything else at that meeting.
Do we as a group need to bring anything to the Board of Trustees budget meeting
Nope,
prior to the April?
no, Ally Norton, so she's from PM Gap and we hired her, or that firm, not just her, but that firm to do our budget. And she's already, we had a meeting, a kickoff meeting, December 11th, and then she started meeting with individual, you know, department heads on December 19th. And I went with Joyce and we talked about different things like, you know, this, and then she was able to plug in. And this is just to get us going. It's not set in stone yet, but we do not have to do anything. In fact, we don't have to even, of course, we can go over the list and give recommendations to, you know, for the, but yeah, I mean, our workload is light this year. So this gives us a chance to get our plan in progress and really work on that. Let's get the ball rolling and.
But this list and all that work was based on the SAD, the 2013
Yep.
SAD. And what we're doing is way more extensive than that.
Mhm.
And I wonder if there are some roads out there that will come from the GIS or whatever we're calling it, that we should be looking at even over the SAD list. Like yours is a classic example based on what you're told. I mean, so
Yeah.
it might be wise to
And
do
there's-
a due diligence quickly to see if there's stuff that we should be chasing. Like roads that have never been touched.
Yeah, and there's also Pine View neighborhood off of,
I'm not thinking about any one particular road, just
well,
as a general statement.
oh no, I'm just thinking of roads that I've traveled that look like they've never had work, and they may have, but I've been trying to do some research on the Buena Vista neighborhood and went into the township, looked through files, and there's a file for Luella that talked about paving it at one point in Park Road, but that doesn't make sense because there's two other roads, and there's no way that neighborhood would ever, well, I'm not 99% sure that it would never get paved because the ditches and culverts are non-existent and that would cost a ton of money. So I called the road commission and had them look and they can't find any record of any improvements in that neighborhood at all. So it's bad unless you have a truck and you want to have some fun.
So I think one of the big issues we've got to deal with is everything you've talked about up to this point is right. Ian's point is the one I've been trying to make, and that is we've got to have a mechanism for prioritizing. Some are going to be much bigger messes than others. Some of those will be roads that people travel a lot, and others will be ones that get very little traffic. And so we've got to look for those ones that are in trouble and get a lot of traffic, I would think. But that's a discussion that we've got to come up with to help. Once we do the prioritizing that you can do, then we've got to really dig into it.
something that came up last spring when we were talking about roads that were having a great deal of difficulty, and we've heard it many times, is that we could improve the road, but because the ditching and the water coming off the road has not been improved, the road will degrade again immediately. And so we also need to add that layer into it. And we, with our funds from the SAD, could not pay for ditching. I don't know if the ARPA funds allow any latitude.
Well, for the Tubbs Road, they were talking about some of that. I don't know if they put that in here. Oh, yeah, drainage improvements, heavy brushing, shaping the existing surface, an application of 6-inch of limestone, approximately 3,600 tons. With associated dust control and project restoration, 155,000. So this one, oh, and Streeter Road has drainage improvements, actually. Oh, they've included drainage improvements on all of them.
Are we restricted in any way with the ARPA funds? We can use them for whatever road improvement.
Right, yeah, so that's those the $500,000 or 553,000 is, those are ARPA funds from the township.
Great.
Yeah, so. So they do include, because I know that like on Liberty Road, there was a resident that had called me and they had lots of water because the ditches were not cleared out. And she's been trying to get the road commission for 3 years, so they actually had it on the list for that's this past summer, so it did get done. But I don't know how they figure that because Liberty, it's a primary, right? So when do they do primary ditching? Because we probably should know that or have it in our list because people are gonna call us, but.
Well, it goes back to the Bandera improvements that we, 2 years.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, the drainage over there, right? But keeping the drain or the ditches clear helps. Don't stuff carpeting into your culverts, people. And okay, so this is a nice update. Let's get back.
When does that need to be ready then?
They need it by, is it May?
I believe it's May 1st that the road agreement has to be signed and returned to the county road.
So the
commission by the
placeholder
town.
to set the funds up one day.
Right, yes, this is all a lot early. But Joyce found out about this extra money that we could get from the state, so she wanted to be on it. Yeah, which is really nice to be ahead instead of behind. She's doing a great job. All right, let's go back to, oh, are we finished with this? Okay. Okay, Patrick, this is a new business and I put it under new business, even though it's still part of the SAD policy, it's a new section, I guess.
We've talked about.
Yeah. So SAD primer for neighborhoods, draft 1.
So this is the document we just finished with last meeting. It's kind of, so you want to do an SAD, how do you work through the process? This is, you've now got your money. The road commission is now thinking about what they want to do and how do you work best with the road commission to have the most productive meeting possible, or the most productive process, easy process. And I worked with Sharon on this. I was the neighborhood rep for our neighborhood. And so I had some particular insights into it, and it actually worked very well. They were very easy to work with. But at any rate, so that's what this is. A couple of 3 cautionary comments. One is there, as you see when you read it, there's the manager in it. We're going to have a project person, Chris Chang, in place by then. And he needs to be roped in there somehow, but obviously, with Joyce's, leadership. So they're gonna need to take a look at this to see what's comfortable with them, but I'd like to give them something that we've all agreed to, before, that we think makes sense before they get it, and then they can dig into it. And then the road commissions, somebody from there that works with the neighborhoods is the next person that needs to be involved. So that's kind of my background comments.
Who was the person from the road commission that, when you had your improvement,
And I forget his name.
it wouldn't have been Cheryl? She was the,
She was not, no, this is a guy in jeans and dusty.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't remember his title? Okay.
No.
Okay, well, there is, there were some things that a little bit different now because we don't, as far as the township, we don't, or the road commission does not do special assessments in our township because we've taken them over.
Mhm.
So the 246, Act 246, we can delete out of there at the top. It's just
Where is that at?
right here in
Oh,
the
right up here, yeah,
introduction.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so of course, public act, and then, I know we're focused on roads, but Public Act 188, as we talked about before, can be used for other improvements, but I can't think of. And that's something we should, again, go over with Joyce and the board, I guess, is this special assessment packet, is this just for roads? Or, cause I can't think. Does anybody? Can you think of any other improvements that we've had a special assessment for?
No, but we've mentioned that they can be used for sidewalks and they can be used for drainage. So I don't know. It's muddying the waters to add that here.
Well, that's why if we just have a general SAD package, or do we need one just for roads? And then if it ever comes up about anything else that it would still be the same process.
Say we focus on roads, that's our responsibility. And if the township wants to adapt it for broader use, go for it.
Seems right to me.
Then they can just plug in
Yep.
drainage instead of roads.
Mhm.
Sidewalks, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Okay, then we'll just use roads and. Well, but the difference is that if they have a, let's say sidewalk, the road commission would not be involved. Well, okay. Poor guy. So if we eliminate. Read the Scio Township Special Assessment District Policy document on the Roads Advisory Committee website. Or at the introduction part of it.
Mhm. You want that deleted or?
No, what do we do? This document is a complement to the policy document and is designed to provide neighborhoods with the information they will need to successfully evaluate the efficacy, yes, of an SAD for their roads and to complete the project from the initial discussions through. All of that can stay. But do we need something at the top? Well, I guess we can just leave that last two lines. Read the Scio Township Special Assessment District Policy document on the Roads Advisory Committee
So what you're
website.
saying is, I think we can just delete everything up till then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We could,
Seems right to me.
unless you want to talk about Public Act 188.
They've got it approved. I don't think it's.
Yeah, okay.
I'll clean that up a little bit, but kind of.
Just to nitpick, it should be A, not N, before SAD, stage one.
They were going back and forth in the
Oh, yeah.
email about
There
that.
was,
No, it's A.
No, it's not, it's N.
How is it N? It's S.
because the rule is if it sounds like it begins with a vowel, S sound begins with an E.
Is that the rule?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
Do
god,
But it
I get
doesn't.
right here?
yeah, you got better memory than me.
Wait a minute,
Well,
it's special,
but
yeah, because,
if you're abbreviating.
yeah,
I
evaluate
still think it should be A, because you're saying special.
special assessment district.
However, we have to give them latitude because they were the ones in charge of the document. It sounds like they did research.
We did it for the other,
grammatical
we did it for the other
correctness.
documents.
Okay. It's just funny that, okay,
So this is,
You have to
Luke
say
Hitter
and
pointed this
SAD.
out 12 years ago when we first initially started working on these documents. I was like, what? So he took me to, we Googled it and just like Ian and I did, and I had to go back. It's like, I know it's
Well,
supposed to be him, but I
He
didn't
found
know.
some stuff and then like quoted it in an email, and then I started looking and I'm like, oh, this is where he found it, and I,
Yeah,
you know, so I did some legwork as well.
but if it was written out special assessment district, it would be an A in front.
right.
Yes.
Yes.
But you say an SAD, for the efficacy of an SAD. That's the only way it sounds right in my head.
Right.
If I do efficacy of an SAD, then it's like horrible.
Okay, well, you know what, we're gonna send it to the board eventually and they can fight over it.
Yeah, and they'll try to change it.
Before you decide to pursue in SAD,
SAD.
an SAD.
That sounds much better.
To give a purpose, to give your community the necessary information about SADs in order for you to make the best possible decision about your deteriorating roads. How about, well, I was thinking the best possible decision about your potential
Road improvement.
road improvement.
So where are we at? I'm sorry.
Oh, under the first,
Stage
Perfect.
one.
Oh, purpose. Okay, all right. Repeat that, please.
oh, well, it just, when you get to make the best possible decision about the potential
Much better.
road improvement, yeah.
Thank you.
When the leadership in your community begins to consider, it's such an SAD to fund the renovations of its roads, you should contact Township Manager Joyce Parker or Project Manager. Or Project Manager. So this is,
So I don't know what we can assume at this point. Maybe should put
Yeah.
or in parentheses.
yeah, let's put both of them in parentheses because, you know, if they contact Joyce, I mean, they could just contact the township, they would get the packet and then but the project manager would be overlooking. Wouldn't they contact us at all? I mean, the road advisory committee?
If they went through the website, it's possible that they would contact us. But you have to remember that the first phase, when someone calls the township, they're either gonna talk to Christie or they're gonna talk to Fran, probably at the front desk. So really what we might wanna do is show them the packet once we get something that is approved and say, you know, this is now available. If someone calls and asks about an SAD, you can tell them to look on the website for the SAD packet.
If they can figure out what an SAD is and that it exists, they can probably find the right person to talk to as well.
And then everybody in the hall would be running the other way. I know.
I was
Okay, so I'm
advised-
thinking if they, let's say they receive the packet and they begin the process, let's say, talk with their neighbors and they get some petitions or enough, maybe they want a community neighborhood meeting. Who would, and then they come back to Christie and Christie, who would Christie go to? More than likely it would be the project manager.
So I did Joyce first, because I think she will want, at least for Chris's first 6 months or whatever, will want to be the person that works with him and, you know, signs the work and then works with him and how do we handle this? Because it's a new territory. So that's why I wrote it that way.
Okay. Well, and also, but this is going to be, you know, whomever is in either one of those positions. But you know, I meet with Chris Chang and,
I would just put their
Joyce.
titles and not their name.
I think.
yeah, that's a good idea. Manager, township manager and project manager. And that would be, and then just the, without the extension right now. And then, okay, manager. The,
Township manager
yeah, the township manager.
or their representative.
So I've already got township manager up in the previous. It feels redundant to me.
Oh, no, then you go to the second here, the next paragraph.
Whole new paragraph, yeah. Use it again. Don't be lazy.
Oh, and
I mean, don't be lazy in your writing, you know. Say,
Um,
yeah.
Patrick,
Feels redundant to me.
No, because you're assuming you're into a run-on sentence. And it's actually a run-on paragraph.
The fundamental title is township manager, it's not
Yeah.
manager.
Township,
No, that part's right.
the township manager or their.
well, and also, is the township manager or their representative going to know about how roads are funded? We're gonna have, our job. Make sure they know.
If they don't, someone.
Okay, well, yeah, leave that for now, and we'll work out the bugs, but, about how roads are. Okay. Describe how SADs work, how an SAD works, and address any questions the neighbors might have. After this meeting,
And this is a repeat of what was in the previous document.
okay,
I mean, the verbiage is slightly different, but this is just. This first section is just, this is how an SAD works. Now, they will have already. The readers of this ultimately will already have got the SAD.
right, the packet, you mean? Or
No, they will have read that first document, been through the process, been in this hall, been voted on, and they're now looking at how do we implement an SAD? Right?
wouldn't this be the cover page of the packet?
Yeah.
Is that-
But we told them to read the Scio Township Special Assessment District Policy document. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying, up in the, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't want to go into that in a lot of detail because they have read that. Wanted to give some brief background, but not just talk in the details.
Okay, after the second to last line, after this meeting, your community, that would probably be your neighborhood or your. Yeah, possibly, because it could just be a road, one road. Neighborhood, yeah, I
And
guess,
rather than go forward, I might say proceed.
where,
Your community will decide whether to proceed with an SAD
oh,
or not. It's redundant, I think.
okay. Hmm. So Patrick, for now, there's a couple of things that this is kind of long. And
Well, it's 6 pages, that's,
no, for us to get through tonight. I mean, for people to read, of course, but so should we work on a couple pages and then for the next meeting?
Sure, and I'll clean up those first 2 pages.
Okay, so the second,
We do 3 pages. It's 3 pages.
okay,
And there may well be some changes that get recommended that I'll change the latter part of the document to be consistent. So that would be.
February 7th, 3 pages. Okay, yeah, like anywhere where it says community, I guess would be neighborhood.
Right, exactly.
And then if your neighborhood is interested in pursuing an SAD, it needs to appoint a neighborhood representative. Mhm. Sometimes I've heard neighborhood lead too, because was that in one of the documents or online somewhere, but whatever's catchier, I guess, or easy. But it has to be one person from the neighborhood, who will coordinate with the WCRC. Hmm,
And we don't know who that person is gonna be, and maybe I will ask Roy.
well, but the neighborhood representative would not be dealing with WCRC, they would be
I
dealing
dealt
with
with somebody from WC. He came to my house like a week or 2 ahead of time, and we walked the neighborhood and went through everything that needed to happen. And then I sent an email out to the community, so the neighborhood rep did meet with WC.
right, but what I'm saying is that it wouldn't be the neighborhood rep that would contact WCRC, it would be through the project manager. Is that how?
There was no project manager, so.
Okay, who did you meet with it from the township?
Roy, not Roy, Lou.
Okay,
It was very good,
so Lou, and so then you contacted WCRC?
I actually don't remember.
Okay, I'm just trying to make this, because I don't want it to be like thrown at them, like you gotta do all the work, because we wanna make sure that they know that they have help. But if it, so anyways, there needs to be a neighborhood representative who will coordinate with, how about the project manager?
can become the point of contact for
And
the WCRC roads committee.
point of contact for the neighborhood. Well, because if the project manager should be talking with the WCRC, and the road advisory committee.
Yes. I'm just trying to, point of contact as opposed to, you're not coordinating with them,
Yeah,
but you
that's
become the
better.
point of
Right,
contact
right.
for the information.
Yep.
Trying to
Okay,
define
Yes.
the role more clearly.
It's a better term.
so that can just be that paragraph, just maneuvered a little bit better to have it flow. I've been through a sad, it's
You don't want to frighten them off just
right, it's very, it can be,
It's
depending on the improvement. Okay, best practice, a WCRC staff person, the township project manager will walk your roads with the NR. How about if we put the project manager first? Because that's always gonna be the point of contact for the neighborhood rep. And then the project manager would coordinate with WCRC and set all that up for, them to walk.
One suggestion, Patrick.
Mhm.
I think on your acronyms, you can get rid of the ST, this document. It's for Scio Township. We are the RAC.
It was a cumbersome acronym.
But township manager needs to stay though.
Yes.
Any changes for the rest of that? Okay. Next, go on to the next best practice. At this point, the NR should assemble a list of names and addresses of the residents, but we need to change that to parcel owners because it can't just be a renter, it has to be a parcel owner. As well as email addresses to facilitate communications. The PM,
I think you should be will help with this. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
May help, will help. That's the Scio Township project manager can help
Oh.
with this.
yeah, I think May. Don't say will, just in case that, we can put another to-do list or to-do on their list. The PM may help with this, okay. Some neighborhoods are now using a social media application next door and other social media to serve this function.
Next door's branding is actually just one word.
Oh, thank you.
Or
And
they
it's a
can just-
lowercase d.
Or they can knock on their neighbors' doors and, have a, find out who they are.
It's really hard to find people at home. You do that. You walk door to door, you'll find a tenth of the people have any human being that answers the door.
They just don't want to.
That also,
blame 'em.
that also.
Unless it's Ed McMahon, well, not him anymore. As the process moves along, the ability to communicate quickly with neighbors becomes more important. Yes. Unless they just want that thing to drag it. Okay, so that, the first stage one, before you decide to pursue an SAD. Okay, stage two is the petition process.
I think that it's confusing. This note, state law requires a PS 188. Yes.
I didn't know what, I have a question mark next to
Yeah, I
that.
have a question mark.
Is that Patrick Shields?
Probably not. Yes. Okay, well, I'll find out what that referred to. Thank you.
To obtain the signatures of a substantial majority of the neighborhood on a petition which requests improvements to specified roads. This is the purpose and establishment of a local SAD to pay for it. Let's change that to fund it. To fund. Because they're paying for it. It's just through.
Right.
Well, and then this gets also, remember, we were talking about the percentage that, because by law, it's only 51%. But then the township needs to figure out what that percentage that they want, and they can say 65, 75, whatever. So that would
That's why
be,
this parenthetical is in here. Township board trustees may only move forward with the SAD when a much more substantial majority of your neighborhood signs the petition.
well, and we could put in the percentage when we find that out.
So my understanding is that it varies. No, Okay,
Well, it's whatever the board decides, other than the 51%. If they say, oh, we just need 51% because it matches, but they generally don't like to do that because.
right.
So I'll put the percentage here. And because that'll make it shorter, maybe later.
Exactly where are you?
Oh, that's under the first paragraph, or the first under stage 2 purpose, that very first. And I just put a % with a question mark, and we'll
Okay.
deal with that later.
All right.
Could we potentially, when I read it, it's not very readable. So could we change it to something like to obtain, don't write yet, just there's something like to obtain petition signatures. And then that way it's like something like to obtain petition signatures of a substantial majority of the neighborhood to request improvement or something like that.
Mhm.
And then that way it's not got lots of articles.
Well, we brought it up before, but we need to be clear, it's not the neighborhood, it's the parcel owners.
Well, yeah, I was wondering as well. Change.
Well, actually, yeah, it would be parcel owners, but within a district, because they couldn't go to the other side of the neighborhood. It has to be, oh, that's it, yeah, that's right.
To obtain district petition signatures. It's just,
It's a mouthful.
yeah,
To obtain district petition signatures.
We don't specify what the district is.
not yet.
Not
It's the
yet.
first time
We're
we
throwing something out.
Yeah.
How about to obtain potential?
SAD district.
What's the definition of district?
Well, the district is where the improvement will happen. And so the parcel owners within that district would, the property would receive a special benefit. So
Why don't we just say affected parcel owners,
affected.
affected
Yeah.
parcel owners.
That's more clear.
Thank you, Bob.
That
So,
implies that,
you know,
yeah, implies that not everybody's affected.
So that would be, what is the sentence again that you were?
Exactly.
He knows what it is.
Yeah. It was just,
I have a sense of things.
yeah,
Oh, you're gonna,
it was just
Yeah.
to obtain.
Going to work.
There's a whole bunch of stuff here and I'll just
I'm
clean it
trying to
up.
like, yeah,
okay.
condense it,
Yeah.
make it more concise.
Yeah, and that note, just ignore that for now, I guess. It'll be,
That's a big note.
yeah, it is a big note.
If I recall from the December meeting, what you were talking about, Act 2080 requires a majority of the frontage has to approve for an SAD to go forward.
That's for the petition part of it. Right, yeah, for the road frontage or, yeah.
If I recall correctly, December.
That's exactly right.
And there is reference to that in
In the
here.
previous document.
Yes.
Okay. Are we complete with that
Mhm.
for now?
For now.
Okay. The
Let's see
process,
what we find next month.
if your neighborhood decides to pursue an SAD, the PM will work with your leadership to draft a petition that makes best sense given your circumstance. So this is a little confusing, but I know what this means is that this has to be the official petition. So at the top, it'll say, let's say Zebro, from Jackson to Pratt, how many parcels, and then they give the parcel numbers or whatever, but and then it lists what the exact improvement's going to be. So that's kind of down a little bit, and that takes, because this is after the the road commission comes out and says, okay, this is what you want your road uplifted and this is what it's gonna cost, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that goes into this part
Yeah.
for the official. So maybe we could call this the official petition. And that may not, I think that's the right word. It was in that the document that the previous document, there was something like that. There was a name for the official petition.
Maybe all of that is irrelevant. We can just to draft the official petition and
That's exactly what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
because it's gonna make sense anyway.
Right.
Yep.
Given your circumstances, which are what, I
Right.
mean, it's very vague.
Should leadership be neighborhood representative?
Well, no. It's not. Let's see, in our case, it was the board that had responsibility, like we all took 10 neighbors or 15 neighbors and knocked on doors.
You may be, but the project manager isn't going to work with all of them. Project manager is ideally gonna work with the focal point. That person then works and spreads it out. I'm just trying.
The neighbor, yeah, so the leaders in your neighborhood are responsible for collecting the nest. So it would be the neighborhood representative in your neighborhood, or the neighborhood, are responsible for collecting the necessary signatures to initiate so it could be, and then we could have something in there, and helpers, the neighborhood, I'm sorry, neighborhood representative and
So I think there'll be cases where the leadership in the HOA takes the lead on the collecting, and the person that is the PM might be badly suited for that process, but is technically sophisticated and is glad to walk the roads with people. So I don't think you can assume that the PM is gonna take the lead on getting the signatures.
so the project manager would not be involved at all with the
I'm
signatures.
sorry, the
Neighborhood
local,
representative.
the local, the
No.
neighborhood representative.
Well, right, and the neighborhood representative could assign that to others in their neighborhood, but the township wouldn't have anything to do with that.
That's part's right. But in our case, it was the leadership of the board that drove things, and then I was on the board, but then I assumed responsibility to be the neighborhood rep.
Oh, I see. Okay,
And, a person with skills that is interested in doing that might be very different from somebody who can knock on doors. Who's interested in doing
That's
that.
all right. I guess I'm just looking at it thinking. The township project manager wants to work with a single point of contact who's the neighborhood rep.
Right.
That person doesn't necessarily want to work with all the people
No, no, I
after that.
certainly don't.
And that's, the sentence is, the Scio Township project manager will work with your neighborhood representative on the draft. After that, the leaders of the neighborhood get the committee, get the signatures. That's all I'm trying to get to is
Got it.
you're not having the project manager work sub the neighborhood rep unless it's absolutely critical.
Right.
oh, how about this, then that makes the best sense given your circumstances, okay, that's the petition part. Then the leaders, then the neighborhood representative and leaders in your neighborhood are responsible for collecting the necessary signatures. Something just to make it so it doesn't look like, oh, the project manager is gonna help me with this.
Right.
And really, I don't think it would be kind of a conflict of interest in a way. I mean, we just need it separate. After a petition is submitted to the township office, staff will validate the petition. It's not staff, it's the clerk or the assessor. The clerk, the assessing department,
So it should be our assessing department.
yeah,
Assessor.
I believe it's the assessing department because they would have to verify through the parcel. And BSNA or whatever they do, assessing department will validate the petition signatures. Looking for ownership in the absence of unpaid property taxes. The property cannot be counted as in favor of the petition unless all owners of the parcel have signed the petition. That's correct. If there's two people on the deed, both of them have to sign. And B, the parcel does not have any delinquent property taxes.
Be a comma after petition and
After petition and before and, right, okay, got it.
after
heard you.
petition and after and all owners of the parcel sign the petition. And B, the parcel does not have, yeah.
I think this is not relevant to this part of the conversation, but I do note that I moved to neighborhood after the first page. It said community once and then
Yeah, you did.
There you go. Once approved by staff, once approved by the assessing department. The Township Board of Trustees will hold a public hearing for all the affected parcel. For all the affected parcel owners, parcels. No, because they wouldn't be holding it. It would be for the parcel owners.
I was trying to remember, we had a timeline attached to a document when we first started trying to work this SAB project out that said, because the public hearing, there has to be 30 days notice. There's a whole set of, I was trying to remember where that was, if it would be an addition, a good seventh
Yeah, it would be.
page to this.
Yeah.
So that they could go in and see, okay, so the township board's going to declare a public hearing, then there's 30 days after that before the public hearing occur, and then I can't remember, but there's another 30 days that.
Should we have a time frame or timeline?
Timeline, I cannot remember what it was in reference to. It was something we were working with 2022. Right as we were first getting started, I've been through my notes as we were sitting here and I can't find it. If anyone can think of where it was. I don't think it was part of Lou's document.
No,
We could recreate it easily.
I think that would be really helpful too.
Yeah, because they have to be notified with, I think it's by first class mail.
But the other part of it, it really does show that this is like a 9-month process.
Yeah,
Not a,
You can't kick this off in the spring.
No.
Expect it to be done in the fall.
Right.
right. I mean, they could start in the spring, but then it won't be done until the next year, but
Right.
so we just have to give them that. Yeah. But also, yeah, but there's, in the statute, there's certain timelines or time frames that we have to, for different
right, and
things.
this was a timeline pulled out of the statute.
Okay, so that's something for us to bring to the next meeting, if we can look
If
for
we
it.
can find it, yeah.
This is a homeowner's, opportunity to ask, let's change that to parcel owner, please.
Mhm.
Opportunity to ask questions and comments, and provide comments, to ask questions and
Make comments.
make comments on the project. Let's change project to improvement.
Throughout the document.
Right, makes sense, yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, it has to be an improvement. I mean, that's the whole point of SA 188. Is this, what page are we on?
Page 2.
Page 2.
Okay, at the top. After this first hearing, the township board will decide whether to go forward with the special assessment district.
Proceed.
To proceed. Right, okay. If the board approves, it will then retain an engineer usually from, okay, so this is where,
The board approves what?
if the board
It's
approves,
a new sentence. You're assuming knowledge from previous sentences.
okay. After the first hearing, the township board will decide whether to proceed with this special assessment district. If the board has approved,
The board agrees to proceed.
if the board agrees to proceed,
That takes away that the board is approving the SAD. It's just the board's first decision is to proceed further.
right,
Pat, did you try, putting a flow chart together rather than all the words?
Try what?
Flow chart.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Will be that complex.
Decision,
Yeah. Yes, no.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that's a little addendum, the same way that the timeline is.
I found those really helpful when the township gives you a packet, you know, you need to know, what am I supposed to do next? And what's going to happen after that? What am I expected to provide? Timelines or some sort of a checklist was a really great tool.
what do you think, Patrick?
You're right. I've never done a flow chart. So if somebody else would be willing to do that, that would be lovely.
Okay, Bob.
I'll take a shot based on this.
No doubt I can do it, but if somebody else could be coaxed into it, that'd be lovely.
Well, this is, we can, you know, definitely take this and plug it in, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
then we can,
Just ask an AI engine to create a flowchart based on this document.
I don't know how to do that.
That could be about
But you can ask AI, ask AI.
It's a good project.
It's too old for that.
I wanna figure out, see if it'll clean my bathroom. So Bob, do you wanna, so you've never done a flow chart,
Well,
or you
I've
have,
never done, I've not
you've
done,
never done a flow chart?
I've done very simple ones, but never.
prior engineering lives, you know. Like I said, I'll take a shot at it. I just read the process and do decision trees with branches, you know. Yes, go here, no, go here, and
It's just gonna be tough because it's a very wordy document, trying to keep those decision trees.
well, that's why I was thinking
Concise is
the flow
tight.
chart would be better than all the words.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Visual learning.
Okay, well, should we finish this page?
Yeah,
Okay.
we should keep going on.
Well, so if the
I mean, I
board,
may fail.
well,
I may find it is too complex.
Nah, you got it.
yeah,
I have total confidence.
I do too, but
All right, well, if the board agrees to proceed, I think is an improvement.
agrees to proceed. It will not retain an engineer from the WCRC, because WCRC owns the roads and they will be doing the project, so they hire the engineers and the contractors and whatnot. So if it was a private road, then the township would be involved
this
in.
is the verbiage that Sharon,
Yeah, but when your neighborhood was under the WCRC, the Public Act 246.
But when we did Dale View and when we did Berlin Way, we had the township retained Washtenaw Engineering as the project engineer, although Washtenaw County was in charge of the project.
Right, but WCRC. Yeah, and then just. There's lots of issues with those.
Oh, there are. I'm just saying, in the last few projects I can think of, Scio Township did retain the engineer who worked with the WCRC. There was also a WCRC engineer.
And why did we need two engineers?
Joe Maynard was really the project manager.
Oh, right, at the time. Yeah, so it was more of the, right.
Okay, so where are we at with what this edit should look like?
If the board agrees to proceed, an engineer, usually from WCRC, will be assigned to your improvement. Yes.
The engineer will develop more detailed plans and reevaluate estimated costs based on the latest information available.
Get rid of available.
Just based on the latest information. Okay. If the cost contained in this. Tongue-tied to me. If the cost contained in this more detailed estimate exceeds the original estimate by more than 10%.
Project manager.
Yeah, the project manager will meet with the neighbors, with the parcel owners, to address any concerns and develop a strategy to communicate with the entire neighborhood. See, if I remember correctly, the board has already approved this ad to move forward. And we don't know if it's going to be right on or over, because if it's over, then we have to have another public hearing. And that's later on in the process, so there's something, I think we need to read through PA 188. Because it happened with. Bridge. No, Merlin Way. So when the final bill came, they did and it came back that it was over a certain amount, we had to have another public hearing. So if it comes out, if they do the estimate, it comes out pretty much, under that 10%, then we don't have to have another public hearing.
Right.
So that's what this is making in reference to right here. But they're not gonna know if the cost is over until they finish the project. From my understanding. Gosh, I have to go back and think, those are video recorded, so we could go back and watch that public hearing for Merlin Way.
But they will have just done more detailed assessment. And at that point in time, they could well determine that the estimate exceeds the original.
Well, that's because it's just an estimated cost when they do that. So if you go to the engineer will develop more detailed plans and reevaluate as estimated costs based on, okay, and then if the cost contained in this more detailed estimated estimate exceeds the original estimate, but what's the original estimate? Because they're all estimates.
Refers back to the second best practice on page 2.
Yeah, that's when WCRC walks and says, oh, yeah, this is gonna be $50,000, but then, we have this engineer that says, oh, no, it's gonna be $350,000. Yeah.
And it abuts public road, we have to redo all ditches on public road the first feet of it. It's going to be more.
One of the things we used to do is call it a broad brush cost estimate, preliminary. Yeah, way back page 2. When the detail is following. So that way you separate them.
It'll have a name.
That makes sense. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. It's all engineering stuff.
broad brush, that's what it's called.
You know, thumbnail, broad brush.
Yeah,
And then you do a detail. When you gather a little bit more.
Ballpark. Rough.
Ballpark, broad brush.
I think rough estimate is something that
Well-
people understand more quickly.
What is that?
Broad brush.
Rough.
Ballpark, rough?
You know, I think
Ballpark?
broad brush is,
well,
We're just playing with this, the
Yeah,
source of
It's
this.
just, it's just a, what do you call it? An adjective, adverb,
Yes.
right?
so when I went through the SAD process, I mean, it was different with the drain commission, but they, we had maybe 3 or 4 meetings and to answer questions and whatnot, but they gave us originally, they did the walk around and whatnot, and they came back, they said, well, this could be $150,000 or $300,000. So this was even before, there was 2 sets of petitions. The first one was just to get them to even talk with us, but then the second petition was, oh, it came back that it was $300,000 and you have to go in front of a tribunal and, you know, the township may pay for some and then the county would pay for some depending on health hazards and whatnot. It's different.
Well, you said something that
Oh.
prompted me, a range then, call it a range of cost. Is the first.
Oh,
That's what he did, range.
yeah, so then as the process went on, the engineer actually did the whole scope of work. I mean, they didn't do the work, but they said, oh, this is gonna be $300,000. So do you agree to move forward with this? And we had enough petition signatures that it did go forward. So that's what, and I would almost feel better to have, and we could do this, is have a petition just to up to the certain point, and then like right here for the estimated cost, and then when it comes back, that they know pretty much what the costs are going to be, then they would have a petition to move forward with the township, because once they sign that petition, that gets the ball rolling, and they could be locked into it, because the township could say, you know, it comes back $500,000, yeah, we're gonna push that through. They could. Now, they would probably never not get voted back in office, but, and that's what makes me nervous, is like, that you're locked into that special assessment unless the board says, and then you have enough people to come and say, no, we don't want this anymore, but. Okay, so
I'm back on page 2 though. Clarify cost estimate there. Either we say it's
where specifically are you at?
best practice on page 2.
Okay.
Or I'm trying to further define that cost estimate.
He wants to give it a name.
I said either broad brush or ballpark or range is somehow using the
Oh.
word range is the best. And then on page 3, you say detailed cost estimate. That means an engineer has put their pencil on paper.
so, okay, preliminary scope of work and prepare a broad cost estimate.
Well, we use broad brush, we use ballpark, but I really like range. I'm not sure how to incorporate that word into that. Because the way you described it was range.
Range, yeah,
I'm teasing a rangy cost estimate.
You can put a placeholder there.
Okay.
We know we want a name there. We know it will be an adjective. We don't know what the word is yet.
all right,
I
so,
mean, ballpark is
Ballpark's
kind of a
not
good
bad.
word because, like you say, not everybody understands broad brush. But people kind of understand.
okay,
So we'll put that in there for now.
and then that's on page 2,
Yes. Yeah.
Subject paragraph.
and then page 3, what are we calling that?
Detail,
So where? Is that the third or the
First
second?
paragraph,
First
the engineer
paragraph.
will develop a more detailed
plan,
plan and
and
detailed cost estimate.
And reevaluate,
I think it should be in the detailed
reevaluate
cost
that.
estimate.
I wouldn't use reevaluate. I would say that,
Detailed cost
that's
estimate.
gonna be a detail, right?
Yep.
So should we more detailed plans and estimated costs, or should we say detailed again?
No,
Detailed plans and
detailed
detailed,
plans and estimated cost.
oh, okay. Based on the latest information. Okay, and there was another, is there another, if the cost contained in this more detailed estimate exceeds the original estimate, the ballpark,
Mhm.
yeah. By more than 10%, the project manager will meet with the parcel owners. When he meet with the, yeah, neighborhood rep to address any concerns and develop a strategy to communicate with the entire
District.
district. Yes, there we go. Okay. If the concerns cannot be alleviated, the neighborhood may elect to terminate the SAD process and incur no additional expense. So, okay, but if they've already signed the petition, the only way that they can terminate the SAD process is right, with going to the board and saying, hey, we don't want it.
What do you say then? I thought every other SAD process we looked at allowed the people to have a second shot at the well based on the detailed cost.
I think they have to show up at the first public hearing and put their name on a list, and if they're not on that list, they can't come back and.
So, right, they have to object in order for, because if it does go through, the only way they could go to the tax tribunal and,
Adjust.
Yeah, but this is for the whole affected district though. The whole affected district decides they want to vote it down a second time based on the estimate. Huh?
If the costs have gone up.
Yeah.
The district should have the ability to say thanks, but no thanks.
Yes. And their rep now says to the board, we're retracting our petition.
Well, it alludes to that in this next paragraph, but that's not what it actually says.
yeah, because it's,
It says the neighborhood may elect to terminate the SAD process and incur no additional expense.
well, right, but if the board has already approved the SAD, there's not another, unless they go to the board.
They can't approve this.
Board has approved, has agreed to proceed is what we've,
Yes.
the next step in the procedure process is a detailed estimate. The detailed estimate comes back and it's $200,000 higher than expected. The district has the ability to say thanks, but no thanks.
I don't think we're at the point where we're asking the board to approve or disapprove. The SAD.
Right, well, if you read in Public Act 188 in the process, the board has to approve the SAD, the special assessment.
At the end of the second public
At
hearing.
the end of the second public hearing.
That's when they,
That's what I read in the.
We're not talking about the second public hearing.
Which is the last paragraph on this page.
Yes.
okay, well, I'm gonna put a question mark, I'm gonna read
Now,
through
it
it
gets
again.
back into the flow chart.
Yeah, right. Okay,
So Bob's gonna sort it all out for us.
So there's got to be a bailout option if the costs come. up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
oh, yeah,
But I
that's
thought-
what,
I thought I read that in the 180. A year ago when you gave it out.
yeah, well, it's in the last packet, I believe, but I don't wanna, we can read that,
Yeah.
not here. Yeah, because then it may page
Either
long.
way, we gotta put it in.
Yeah, we've got, right, that's where I'm gonna put a question mark here with PA 188, so we get clear. We need to be clear, because, yeah. So, okay, if the concerns cannot be alleviated, the district may elect to terminate the SAD process. Are we changing neighborhood to,
Is it the district or the parcel?
By default, the parcel owners are the district.
within that, yeah, right. So, okay. And then the next one is if the community decides to move forward. So
we're
you
not gonna
snuck
go
another one in
parcel-
there.
I can go parcel owners.
Well, the district at this point, or is,
What did we use earlier? Parcel owners?
we've bounced.
Because I thought we said we didn't know what district, definition district was. And I said use affected.
Right, well, in the beginning, it's the parcel owners, but once the board approves, then it becomes the district. Yeah, so it's, the board will hold a public hearing for the affected parcel owners. And then,
Where do we explain that transition?
Or do we add a list of definitions?
that's a good, yeah,
Yes.
9. Boy, Linda, you're just adding more to our to-do list here. We have a timeline and now definitions.
On the flow chart.
In a flow chart. Okay. I'm putting that on the second page in flow chart. Okay. Well, you know what? This is gonna be a document that's gonna last and
Yeah, it
will only
needs to be-
change PA 188, which is
Used to
never.
be definition well as acronyms.
Oh, okay. Acronyms, okay. If the district decides to move forward, proceed. The Township Board of Trustees schedules a second hearing, public hearing, to confirm the assessment role for the project and address the concerns of individual. Well, we don't need individual it would just be parcel owners. Oh, wait a minute. And address the concerns of the parcel owners about the size of their individual assessments.
You can get rid of
Yeah.
individual.
It's kind of, yeah,
Yeah, we don't need to. It's just the concerns, because it could be.
yeah, could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each property owner has a statutory right to protest his or her individual assessment. And actually, we should include in there, okay, so they have a statutory right to protest. Well, of course, that's your First Amendment, but in case, something about going in front of the tax tribunal needs to be put in there after that, because that's the purpose of. If they don't protest, and they can by email as well, but if they don't, then they
Waive.
forfeit their right to.
Wasn't there a specific time period they had to do this?
After the special assessment district is approved, they have 30 days.
Yes.
Actually, I think all that is in the other document, but probably fits here as well.
Yeah, the more that part, we don't want anybody to think that, oh, they didn't tell us,
Right.
you know, and that is important. No, there are a number of options that can be used to determine the size of each parcel's assessment. The most common is equal assessments per parcel, but other measures such as road frontage or taxable valuation can be used in appropriate situations.
Or certain situations.
Just can be used, period.
Yeah,
It's really up to the district.
yeah, if there's, right, I think that the neighbor or the parcel owners within the district could ask for taxable value, or they could ask for any of those. The option eventually chosen for an individual SAD or will depend on interaction between the property owners in the SAD and the Scio Township Board of Trustees. The option eventually chosen for,
Or the SAD.
The assessment option eventually chosen
yeah,
will depend on concurrence between the property owners.
Bob, say that again, the assessment option,
Eventually chosen for an individual SAD will depend on concurrence between the property owners and the SAD and Scio Township Board of Trustees.
okay,
Property owners or parcel owners. Let's just be consistent.
parcel. Have we've been using parcel? Okay. At the end of this second public hearing, the Board of Trustees will make a decision on the method for funding the project. Well, they will approve the method, because they're not gonna make the decision, because that's already going to be calculated, should be, because that has to be given to, you know, at that public hearing, so, we'll approve,
The method.
Well, let's just say we'll approve funding for the project if the money is borrowed.
approve funding. Oh, the method for funding. So it would be either through the Township Improvement Revolving Fund or a bond. But,
You don't need to put that detail in here, do it.
I don't think so.
right, because you know, there's still gonna be interest, and I found your email regarding the, Merlin Way, but there was something, it wasn't interest, it was something else.
Sent out that email.
Yeah, I sent it to, forwarded it today. So what was the word that you used? Like, sorry,
Yes, yeah, no, you did, you sent it to us. The administrative fee discussion
There.
point.
that's it. Interest charges and administrative fees. If the money is borrowed by the township, well, if the property owners in the SAD must pay their share of the interest char, or the, how about it? Shares of administrative fees. And interest charges. Because even if the money's not borrowed, because they could use general fund money to put into the township revolving fund, but we can still by law collect interest, because that would be money that would be invested, that we could invest. So if, how do we say that? If the money is borrowed, could we just take that out if the money is borrowed by the township? Just put, property owners in the SAD must pay their share.
Interest charges and administrative fees.
Yeah. Whatever. And that's the interest,
So is their share of what?
administrative fees and interest charges.
Interest or something else?
No, that was it.
Okay,
I just said the reverse order, but
all right.
that covers it.
Not to be a nitpicker, but really the interest charges would be almost in parentheses, if applicable. Because you took out if the money is borrowed. You're only paying interest if the money is borrowed, right?
Well, it's still a loan from the township. So by law, we can,
So there'll be interest regardless.
yeah.
Unless they decide to pay it themselves.
If you pay that first, if you pay everything up front before that first bill, then there's no interest. Pay it in full. Note, the township board will provide a 30-day window in which property owners in a special assessment, take out local, SAD may pay the entire assessment and thus avoid any interest charges. I don't think it's 30 days. I think it's by the first bill. So if, let's say they have the second public hearing in September, that winter bill would be their first bill because we charge SADs and the winter bill.
Should just say provide a window.
Yeah,
We don't add the SAD until the township's actually paid money. We don't still pre-bill them for money, but you know, if it's a winter bill, but the work's not gonna be done until the next year. It's not added to their tax bill until after the work's been done.
no, because the work would already be done when they have the second public hearing.
No,
No.
the board of trustees will make a decision for the method of funding the project. The work can't go forward until.
Till the second public hearing is concluded.
No, because when they had the Merlin Way public hearing, the work was already done and they found that it was over cost. And that's why they had the public hearing.
There are 2 public hearings before an SAD go forward.
That was, I think, a third public hearing because they were.
Okay, so we need to look at PA 188 again, regarding the timeline for public hearings. And construction and what's the other? Billing? Or funding and
I agree with you. I'm not sure it's a 30-day window. I just think. Let's try and get that timeline figured out and see if we can. apply it
Yeah.
To this.
the timeline is really, yeah. But you may pay the entire assessment and thus avoid interest charges.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That part's true.
Okay,
I would say that's a good stopping point. It's not touching the start of stage 3.
oh, right, because we're gonna do the next 3 pages next time.
Yeah, and the good
Or
news is
unless Bobby has
the
his,
third page is only a third of the page. The last page is only a third of it.
I think it's
So are
a
you-
good stopping point. I agree.
you really, is he trying to
It's
have us go forward?
No, I'm not.
No. Okay, so I have it down for next, on February 7th is our next meeting, so we'll continue this however it looks, but maybe Bob will have it finished for us.
I'm gonna separate each phase and try to do a flow chart for each phase. See how that lays out.
Okay, well, yeah, this is good. We feel like we're accomplishing.
We may find that after we've got the flow chart, this needs to be a lot shorter.
Good goal.
Yeah.
I don't think 6 pages or 5 1/3 pages is an excessive amount of verbiage. And this is not a small font either. This is a reasonable length.
You know, as much, if we give them as much information as possible, I mean, they're still gonna have questions, but this should be able to answer. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, meeting minutes. Approval of minutes, this is I1.
So minutes.
What was that?
This is Bob's last minutes.
Well, you're the secretary for the ZBA? Yeah, so it's
No, he's the secretary of the ZBA. I'm the secretary of the planning commission.
What? They suckered you in?
Yes,
Thank you, Bob,
The
for
new
your
kid on the
service.
block, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, thank you for your service.
Jan's comment was it had to be one of the 3 new people. Having already done it for the ZBA and for this, I was probably best prepared to do it for the planning commission. So she twisted my arm and I said, ouch, okay.
you know, ZBA, there, I was the only person able to do it.
Yes, there was no choice. It had to be Patrick.
Well, you're a secretary one way or another, but your reputation precedes you, so you were rewarded with another
Another what?
another minutes,
Another.
secretary for minutes.
Minutes look good to me.
Yeah, I didn't find anything. So we need to voice vote.
Well,
Second.
Move to accept.
Oh, yes.
Second, third, fourth.
Voice vote.
All in favor, say aye.
I, Ian, did you second that?
Aye.
Okay.
I got it.
Bob, nominated, I second.
Linda, when, DDA, January 8th is your next meeting?
I believe so.
Okay. Cause you already had your meeting before we had ours, so I think you gave a voice report or a in-person report. Any, questions about reports? Nope, okay. Educational information, so the, WATS newsletters started arriving for some reason, so I figured that I will put them in our packet. For anybody that wants to read them. There's, I believe Kim Moore is our WATS representative from the township, is that right? Yeah. And, oh, the road commission weekly road schedule, so whatever is that week that I'm creating the agenda is gonna go in there, but I encourage everybody that's listening or anybody here to sign up for those weekly reports, because especially when we're in construction season, it helps to navigate around, but also if you having projects in your neighborhood, then you're aware of that, because some people don't realize there's a project and then they're upset that they can't get around in their neighborhood, but at least you're getting an improvement. Okay, last public comment. There's nobody here except us.
Well, we still have Kathleen, Pam and Rob.
Kathleen, Pam, or Rob,
Yeah,
you have a public comment?
Pam. Yep. Pam, if you'd like to go ahead, that'd be great.
Thank you. Nice work, everybody, on the SAD primer for neighborhoods draft 1. Really nice work. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Keep going, Dan. Go.
Any other comments? Sorry. No other comments.
Oh, okay, well, thank you for attending.
Yeah, thanks.
And let's see,
Adjourn,
yeah, what time? Yeah, I don't think that clock's right.
8:14.
8:14,
8:14. Yep.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next meeting, February 7th.
ZBA, we call it apples.